Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
I want you guys to know that like it's 45 degrees hotter 3 feet up in this room than it is down there. I'm just sweating like crazy. I'm about to take off my shirt. Is that cool?
That's for me, not anyone else. Just a reminder, today is Sex Sunday, so hide your wife, hide your kids. Really, hide your kids. Get your kids out of here. They should go to children's.
I don't think so,
today.
man. I
Except
really,
for teenagers, they should stay.
I think nobody talks about sex right. So your kids are hearing it in cartoons. You should hear it here, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So
That's right.
I don't know. Let's bring kids ministry in. And all the parents are like, "No, this is the holy break."
Now, God created it. It is a gift.
Yeah.
And it's something that He created for us in
It's
marriage.
the best gift.
And the world has distorted it. That's cool. The world has totally distorted it and made it to be dirty. And it's not. It's a gift from God. It's a total gift from God. So.
We've been talking the last 3 weeks. No, the last 2 weeks.
Forever.
Well, the last 2 weeks we've been talking about the three things that absolutely that we've seen and experienced in practicality. I don't know what the stats are, but in real life, right here in this church, the three things that are killing marriages, that absolutely destroy marriages, we've seen and dealt with divorces, split ups, hatred of each other, a lot of things. And the first one we talked about was money, and we've seen that break down so many marriages. I think some of the biggest fights we ever get in are over money, and well, I win because I'm bigger. But we fight over money, and I think a lot of people do. I think money is, and it's not money; it's the lack of money, or where we spend our money. And some people, like when you're married to your polar opposite. So what you think you should spend your money on and what she thinks you should spend your money on usually aren't the same things. So we've been talking about how to communicate in our finances. The last week, man, I just want to say for Brandis being put on the spot last week, like if you weren't here, I came in and told her, hey, I want you to talk today, and so because she did that to her brother the week before, so I got her back, hooked her up. But man, she rocked this place, didn't she? Man, it's awesome. But we were talking last week about addictions, and man, we deal with so many couples and addictions that just absolutely destroy marriages.
So if you didn't get to hear that, the CDs are out there on the table.
Yeah,
so
we
make
put
sure,
we put a
or
lot of
YouTube.
extra ones out there.
Yeah, you can go to YouTube as well. And
Yeah,
see
they're out on YouTube and
share them.
Yeah, it's if you got a friend struggling, just send them a YouTube link, because I mean,
and not on their page.
Yeah, don't go on Facebook and go, we know your marriage sucks, so here's a video.
Yeah, private message that baby, okay?
Yeah, and
everybody's going, oh yeah.
We're real purposeful in this series of not being churchy, not being religious about it, but being real and what's going on in real life. And so I think your friends, whether they're atheist, agnostic, Church of Christ, even maybe I don't know, but everybody can benefit, I think, from just hearing these things, and it doesn't matter. I'm a pastor, I counsel with people, but man, I've learned so much just going through this series, and I think we all need refreshers in our marriage, right? Now, I forgot to tell y'all last week, and I had some guilty parties. This is a no elbowing zone. All right, so like none of that, or no calling people out, we had one couple that he was texting her during the message. None of that, man. So this is like, here's what we found out, that if you want to help your marriage, this is for you. Okay, I mean, this is for you. Like, this isn't for your spouse. You're like, man, if I could just get my spouse here to hear this. Well, how about taking care of what you need to take care of? I know most everybody in here, other than a few guys and me, need some work. Right? And I've talked to them, so they've already been told to keep it down. So. Today, though, we're going to talk about the third thing that we see that destroys marriage. And these are in no particular order because, in my opinion, and I've told y'all this every week since week 1, I think everything comes down to sex. But I've seen sex absolutely destroy marriages, and whether it's the last thing that happens or whether it's the start of the snowball. What I mean by that is whether you have a lot of unmet needs, so you stop having sex with your spouse and that terminates your marriage, or whether you stop having sex with your spouse and that causes a snowball into every other effect that terminates your marriage. Either way, it doesn't work out well. You go through the stages of marriage, you go through conflict, you go through withdrawal, and I don't remember what they are. I'm spaced out. My mind. Yeah, it is. I can't think. So we're going to talk about sex, because that's something you shouldn't think a lot about when you're talking in front of a bunch of people and on video about it.
I told him I wasn't even going to come up here. This is so embarrassing. I'll just tell you right now.
I'm not going to try to embarrass anybody. But if it happens, right? All right. Resources right off the bat before we get going. There's some great resources. One of them I have on my tablet, so I don't have it here. It's called Sex and the Soul of the Woman.
Oh, I was going to talk about that.
Oh.
Yeah, I had that on my list too. We don't talk about what we're going to talk about together. We just get up here.
We read each other's minds.
Pretty good too. Yeah. Where is that one? Oh, that's this one I have here. Here it is, right here.
Oh, she's got the real book.
I have
of it.
the book right here.
See, I'm not much of a real book reader, and
yeah. This is called Sex and the Soul of a Woman. This is for every single woman, especially teenagers, need to read this. It says how God restores the beauty of relationships from the pain of regret. It's by Paula Reinhardt is her name, and I tell you, every woman has got to read this. You know what? Every guy needs to read it too.
I agree with that.
You know?
Yeah, because I mean, like you're sitting there going, I don't know what the deal is. Well, that book tells you what the deal is.
Because this is really it's so good because it's from a woman's point of view, but what's so good about it is back it up. I have never heard anybody explain to me why you don't have sex before marriage. I mean, I know it's in the Bible, whatever, but no one has really taken the time to explain what it does to you when that happens. And this lady is amazing. She explains it in a way that's so simple to understand. It's just amazing. It made me think of, I've heard this explanation before, but it's like you have a gift. You know, God gives ladies a gift, man. And that's your sexuality, and it's your gift. And it's kind of like you have a piece of pizza. It's your piece of pizza. And if you let someone take a bite of your pizza.
Two of my favorite things.
Okay. But for real, I mean, visualize this. You let somebody else take a bite of your pizza, they're stringing cheese over there. And then you let someone else take a bite, he's got some cheese strung over there. And imagine what if you had like 30 bites off that pizza? You got strings of cheese all over the place, and you have a big fat mess. A mess, just a straight up mess of your heart. And I also heard explain what was so good to me is I think it's her, that said this, but I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I read it. But, you know, you want to have the pizza left for your husband because it was intended for him.
That's right.
And not anyone else. And so what if you go and get married, you've had 30
And
other
sex
partners.
too.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
That's the point.
I'm hungry, man.
Today.
You distracted me.
Yeah, really. Give him a donut, please. No, you want to have it left for your husband because if you've given your heart all the way to everybody else, you're not going to have nothing left for your husband. And it really does take a piece of your heart away every single time you sleep with somebody else. I mean, that's just a real thing right there. It really does. And it makes you a mess for later when you do get married. And you probably don't realize it till about 10 years later, I guess. It's about 10 years.
Yeah,
Five, 10 years.
It's one of those things you can't figure out why God would make you keep this thing to yourself until it's, later. God knows what's best for us even when we don't. And then the crazy thing that happens is that, and this book deals with that, is you do this thing either when you have no frontal lobe or you just get pressured into it, or you want that love, you're trying to win love, and you do this thing, but then you start feeling these things that you said you would never feel. And let me tell you this, I mean, I don't care who's lying about what, but there's no such thing as casual sex. It's not true. That's a myth, and there's not a no strings attached sex. And I don't care who you are. If you say that, you're lying. And if you're lying, and even if you mean it at the time, it's coming back. Everything's coming around. Okay, so that's just the way it works.
The other book that I read that was after this one was the book called Kiss Me Again. I've given it to some people here. It's by Barbara Wilson. And this is restoring lost intimacy in your marriage. If you've hit a wall in your marriage, a lot of ladies, I know we don't like to talk about it, but when we think about sex, we're like, ugh. I mean, again already, come on, just hurry up. I mean, I'm just being real here, okay? This is church, being real. But, it's supposed to be enjoyable for the woman too, okay? And it all starts right here. Don't you know? It all starts in our heads, not with the guy. It doesn't start in his head. But for us, it's just like right here. We have to be mentally prepared.
Yeah.
And
the guy starts when you're 12.
12, yeah. But anyway.
That's it. No, it just starts then.
But you will hit these walls in your marriage if you have given yourself away before your spouse. This book is amazing on how to get past all that junk that you're in because of that. Amazing. It's called Kiss Me Again.
This is a book called Intimate Issues. I'll be honest with you. I know it's a good book. It's been a long time since we went through it, and I don't remember, but I just remember at the time it was helpful. This is great because one of the biggest problems with sex in marriage today is time. It takes some time. Well,
fatigue.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, the planning and all the stuff that goes into it. The deal is this book really helps you carve out and understand the priority of it, and that's a good thing. One of the best new books that's come out, and we're not going to do this, and a lot of guys are going to hate me and be disappointed. I'm going to get hate mail. But this book's called Sexperiment, and this is Ed Young's book. And what Fellowship Church did is they did the 7-day sex challenge, and they challenged their couples in their church to have sex for 7 straight days. And so that's why I said, guys are going to be like, you're stupid. You should. But the thing is, man, I highly recommend and highly encourage you getting this book. Guys, if you don't read, get this one and read it with your spouse. Go through this. This is good. And this is like one of those books where there's a prize. Like it's good. You get a reward for going through this one, right? So we're like monkeys. We just whatever. We'll read if there's something in it for us. So those are just some resources. Okay, I want to get down to what we're talking about today, and that's sex and how it's really breaking apart marriages. when guys are asked how much sex is enough, and if you've gone through your Love Busters quizzes and your love needs things, some of the questions that are involved are how often it is satisfactory to meet the emotional need for sex. And now I'm dealing with the emotional need of sex. Like if this is your primary emotional need, and then later I'm going to get into that sex outside of the major emotional needs is an absolute must for marriage to survive, to thrive. So, but in the emotional need of sex for marriage, how much is enough? And when women are asked, they're like once, twice a month. And when guys are asked, they're like, once, twice a day, it's fine. Once a day is sufficient. Right. And that's kind of the answer, and that's kind of the way it goes. And that's a serious issue. You can understand the frustration that builds, and I'm gonna talk about sex from a man's point of view, and so you can talk from a woman's, because I don't understand them, y'all. But here's the thing, like with a man, the way it works is, say, if you have pizza, if you have Jerry's Pizza, and you have it on Sunday, and man, you think it's the greatest thing ever, and you go and you're just like, man, you just tear it up. But right after you have Jerry's Pizza on Sunday, you're kind of disappointed, because you know it's going to be next Sunday before I'm going to have Jerry's Pizza again. And you're kind of depressed, right? And then about Wednesday, you're getting pretty angry and antsy, and then your emotions, and then you're pretty fired up at everybody because you haven't had pizza in a while. I like this pizza thing, man. It works. And then all of a sudden, man, Saturday comes and you're just like, you're about to kill somebody until you get a Jerry's Pizza. And then all of a sudden Sunday comes and you get a Jerry's Pizza, and you don't even like get to enjoy it, because you're thinking, man, I've got to get all I can get right now, because I'm not going to get any more till next Sunday. Right? Am I lying? Amen me, boys. There you go. See, that's what I'm looking at. Now, here's another. Men like food, okay, so I'm going to keep it in that. Food, sex, sports. I mean, that's heaven, right? Okay, so imagine, ladies, this is kind of the way it is. Imagine that your husband is tied up in a chair and he's bound with ropes.
Where are you going with it?
Yeah. No. Imagine that. And like he hasn't ate for 3 weeks. He's like hungry, right? And all you keep doing is walking by, with pasta. And with fried chicken. And you just keep waiting, and then you go and you cook, and the aroma fills the room. And then you don't let them eat. And it's like, I'm about to chew these ropes off, And that's kind of, it's like you're starving and the food's right there, but you can't have it. And that's where the frustration, the anger, the bitterness, the resentment, the hatred, the withdrawal. And here's what we do, and this is what guys do. And we're like, man, she's going to cut me off. I'm cutting her off. But the thing is, we can't do it. I mean, we want to not do it, but we're always going to do it. And we're gonna try not to, because we're going to show you, but then we end up doing it anyway, so it doesn't work.
And here's what we're thinking as he's tied up in that chair, wanting his pizza. He didn't make the flour. He didn't go get the sausage. He didn't get the pepperoni. It's too late. I'm tired. I don't feel like cooking. He didn't go and clean the oven and get it ready, you know. So, and then we're like, forget it. I ain't cooking.
Why cook it? You ain't gonna eat it anyway. That's what God's saying. Why would I cook it? I ain't gonna get to eat it anyway.
And so then it just becomes this vicious cycle.
And this is what happens, and so then you go through this. I'm going to show her because she's not giving me sex. Well, she's not getting this, and then it's like, well, he's not doing this, then he's not getting that, and this, and you get into this actual war. Now, here's the thing about being married: is married couples know exactly how to destroy each other. We know each other so well. We know how to inflict the most pain with the least amount of effort, right? And why we do that to the people we love the most is beyond me. It's crazy. We wouldn't treat strangers the way we treat our spouses. But we use these love needs, these needs that we have in us, we use them against each other. And so, I've learned a lot about women, the way sex works with women. Guys ladies, you need to understand, your husband loves you. He wouldn't have married you. He sure wouldn't be with you. He wants you. He loves you, or he wouldn't have been married to you. Guys, it's not in a guy's nature to just go, man, I just can't wait to get married, so love overcomes common sense, and we end up asking someone to marry us. Okay, we lose our minds and get married, and so because we're married to you, that means we love you. Now, you may not have any self-esteem. You may think, well, I've gained 40 pounds, or I, got whatever, and I look like whatever. Your husband doesn't think so. Your husband. Now, we talked about the need of an attractive spouse, and if you just let yourself go, that may be a bad thing, but that's a whole different set of issues. The thing is, your husband loves you, and I'm going to tell you this. This is what your husband wants me to say to you. He wants to see you naked. He does, and he doesn't think you're fat. And you may not want to see yourself that way, but he wants to see you that way. Guys are visually stimulated. Now, I'm going to tell you some danger areas. Now, this is not a you're evil, or, they're just evil, or he's saying it's all my fault. I don't want you to feel condemned, because what we need to do is figure out how to communicate and how to work these issues out. But if your husband wants to see you naked and you hide, these stupid television commercials don't have any problem with showing him what he wants to see. And even though he doesn't want to, if it goes a day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, the longer it goes, guys, the harder it gets to not look, right? Even if you don't want to, the harder it gets to not look. And when you get angry and hurt and rejected, and that's what we're talking about in sex, because when she doesn't want to make love to me, that's rejection. That says to me, I don't love you, I don't care about you, starve. No pizza for you. Okay? The thing is, if you love pizza, man, you're going to be window shopping at all the pizza stores. And you're going to be fine. You don't want to eat other pizza places. And you're a loyal customer. Right? You have to protect your marriage. And one of the most dangerous things that can ever happen in a marriage is to withhold sex for punishment. Either way. And that's kind of the way guys are wired up. We're visual. Man, we're stimulated visually. And you're like, I mean, you could walk by in some ratty old jeans with your hair, and he's like, oh. I mean, that's just
Even
the thing for him. I mean, you're like, this thing, you're like, oh, yeah.
Even sweatpants?
No. No. Man, I hate sweatpants. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I don't even want sex when we have, no. That's just horrible. I just can't stand it. That's my thing. I hate sweatpants. So if you got sweatpants on, no offense. I'm not going to sleep with you.
But talk about that more, about the dangers. Talk about, things we've learned on that.
What we've learned is that, okay, no one wants to have an affair. It's not like, oh, I married you so I can go and have an affair, so I can cheat on you. And again, I'm not trying to make you feel guilty or blaming anyone. Everyone, a fruit of the Spirit is self-control, right? And so we have control over ourselves. Nobody can make you do what you don't want to do, okay? And I don't care if you haven't had sex in 45 years, okay? It's not an excuse. What I'm telling you is that you're in a danger zone by doing this, because what happens is someone is out there and there's a woman out there that's needing love. There's a woman out there that's needing someone to look at her, someone to want her, someone to desire her. So she's going to dress and flirt and talk, and the most attractive person to that woman is someone who's married, because she knows that they are the type of person who will give her what she wants. And if you can't eat at your pizza place, then you don't even start looking, man. It looks for you. And I'm going to tell you, it comes to you. You don't have to do anything. It's going to show up. The biggest struggle in a man's life is ignorance, because being oblivious, you're going to it's going to show up everywhere you look. You have to be intentional. There's certain things I do not do. I do not go to water parks. People wear their underwear at water parks. It's an odd thing. It's a socially acceptable thing to run around in your underwear. My wife doesn't do that in the bedroom, and you're wearing it in the public. So I don't go to water parks because I'm not stupid. I am very intentional. There is no water slide worth what I go through by going to a water park. You don't put yourself in that situation. You don't get the swimsuit issue. You don't watch the Victoria's Secret fashion show. You're not a man, and why would you want to look at a bunch of people in their underwear? So the thing is, you know what it is that you should not, that's going to get you to where you do not need to be.
And you need to have communication with your spouse about it, because we talk about that, because
Ella knows too.
This reminded me of something, but
Ella knows Daddy don't go to water parks.
Yeah. But we talk about what makes me upset. We'll talk about.
We're listening to this song, and it's a Dave Matthews song.
Okay. Wait, let me back it up a little. Because of the marriage series, we've been doing our homework too. Because we try to stay ahead and do things proactively in our marriage, and so we've been doing our homework just like everybody else, okay? And so we've been trying to communicate more. And ladies, by the way, if you want to communicate with your husband, have sex first. It works. Okay, so we were trying to communicate better with each other. Like,
Clears
I would tell him things, because he's like, you're not honest and open with me. And so, okay, everything I think, I'm going to say to you. So
we're listening to this Dave Matthews song. It's got this line in it, and we're driving down the road, and she says,
makes me mad.
That ain't what she said.
It really makes me mad. Just
That ain't
out of the
what
blue,
she-
I told him that.
That ain't what she said either. And she said it, so I've been saying that to her all the time because...
It's a joke now, but anyway, yes. But I told him that song right there makes me mad. It stirs up everything inside me and makes me mad. And he remembered, I'm going to delete that song off that phone, whatever he won't play it anymore.
I skipped that one.
Yeah. Because,
and I like the song too, that Sacrifice.
Because there is something that triggers deep inside me from probably when I was 7 or 8. Ladies, can you relate to this? Something that has happened to us a long time ago. You may not even know what it is at this point, but something triggers inside you. That should be a sign. Something is not right. You know, if something is triggered like that, for you to search deeper. And these books I've been telling you about will help you search for that. But that is the fact of the matter is that triggers something for me and makes me mad, and I don't want to have sex with him because of that line in that song. I'm not
That's
kidding.
the way women are, guys. And it's to us, and I don't mean this, to us, that is illogical. That makes no sense. It's Dave Matthews. Don't have sex with him. I didn't do it. But you hold me accountable for something somebody else did?
It's just the way it is, ladies, is it not? Things get triggered in here. It's in our head. And I've done so much better in trying to figure out what in the world is making me, act like that. We've done a lot better. But I'm telling you be sitting there watching TV and the Victoria's, whatever that thing is, comes on, the commercial, and I'm like, and I'm look immediately, is he watching? Because that makes me mad.
Because even if I'm watching TV, I cannot even be paying attention. And
that makes me mad. So that's just something, forget it. You looked at the TV instead of me. This is just how a woman's head is.
It's a minefield.
It is a minefield.
Look, having sex is hard, man. You gotta walk through a minefield. You gotta go behind enemy lines. You gotta sneak attack. I mean, it's complicated.
We don't go to rated R movies. We'll not watch them. And people think, oh my gosh, come on, you're old enough, you can do that. But we don't do it. We won't do it because there are things that it's triggered right there. If you see nudity on the screen, that's pornography. You're looking at it, okay? So that's just part of things we don't do because we know it's a trigger.
There's a lot, and we don't have time to go in all the facets of everything. Pornography, guys, will kill your marriage faster. There is nothing that will kill your marriage and your sexual life faster than pornography, and it jacks your brain up. And there's scientific study, and this isn't Christian. This is secular scientific studies of what pornography does to a man's brain, and it will fry your brain out like drugs do. It's harmful, and
you won't be able to enjoy sex anymore.
The biggest problem with it is it's one of the worst addictions because you say it's not an addiction. Everybody's like, well, it's not an addiction. I don't have to. But you do have to have it. You can't stop. Anything you can't stop is an addiction. You can't stop looking. And I don't want to hear any of the, it's art. It's crap, man. Anyway, but we don't have time to go into that. Some of the main things I need to get to women. Especially women. If you want, okay, this is the importance of, I'll get to what I was going to say in a second. My mind just flip-flop. I'm all over the place. But it's cool to be in here, but it's hard to get for you to be in here. God created sex. Sex is very, very important within a marriage. God takes the marriage, love relationship of the husband and the wife, and he compares it to our relationship with him. But God then takes the marriage and takes it to another level of intimacy that cannot be put into words. Sex is very, very spiritual. It is the two becoming one flesh. There is a soul tie and a lot of spiritual things that happen when you have sex with was intended to be your wife. When you break that and you have sex with people who you're not married to, there's still a soul tie in those things. And we went through a lot of spiritual counseling on how to break soul ties and to help with those things. And so ladies, and I say ladies, guys have the same problem. It's just that we suppress our emotions so much it doesn't affect us sexually. It comes out in different places. But with women especially, man, you guys tie so much to past experiences. You relate hurts, you relate love incorrectly because somebody told you, if you love me, you'll let me, and you did, and you gave yourself away, and then that person broke your heart. And so the trust relationship, the problems, and when I say intimacy, I'm not just talking about sex. You have intimacy problems. You have a guarded place in your heart and in your soul and in your physical body that you will not let anybody. And when you're truly given and truly intimate with your husband, it's magical. It's beyond what words can describe. But typically in marriage, people don't have sex like that often because there's so many guards and there's so many hang-ups and there's so much withheld. And I say this to you ladies because not dealing, and it's hard to deal, that's one area you want to suppress like a guy does. But what I've found out over the last 12 years of dealing with couples is that you can't. And you will, I've heard women say, I want to please my husband sexually. But I get to that point and he says that thing and it turns me completely off. Shut down, sick at my stomach, freak out, emotional breakdown. He touches me this certain way and shut down. I walk in front of him naked and he makes this comment, shut down. And so you got to remember, your husband's sitting there walking through this minefield of don't say nothing, don't look too much, don't touch too, you're like, I don't know, I want to, but I don't know what to do. And because you're not communicating these things, it turns into this unsatisfying experience. So you take a bad sexual experience and you bring it into your marriage, and then you start having bad sex in your marriage. And then this is it's like people say, you talk to one person, they say sex is great. You talk to one person, they say sex is horrible. Well, all sex can be great done correctly, and without these baggage and this emotional minefield and these head games and all this stuff. It's not the way it was intended to be. Intimacy has to come. It has to come. You have to be able to be intimate together to make love together correctly, and that's hard for guys because we don't understand. We have a hard time getting the two things separate, understanding what it is that's going on, because we lose our minds. And but it's like she was saying earlier, sex for a woman begins
with your emotional
needs. It begins at breakfast, whenever you make breakfast for her, or give her a flower, or take care of the kids, or do,
it is full time.
Or these things.
Just full time.
Because you can make one mistake in the morning and sex is off for that night. It's so much a part of her whole emotional makeup. And a guy, you could fight, over anything 5 minutes ago. Take off your clothes and we're over it. Everything's good. It's like, oh yeah, we're back. And that is not the way that women are wired up. And so what I'm telling you, ladies, is you have to understand where your husband's coming from. He wants you. He loves you. He's visually stimulated by you. And even if you're dealing, there's marriagebuilders.com, there's a whole section in marriagebuilders.com dealing with sexual aversion. Okay, and that's with women who have a desire to have sex with their husband, but just can't emotionally do it. I mean, just can't get there. And so there's a whole section on that and dealing with that. And guys, if you're a wife and ladies, you have to communicate, because for your husband, he's just like, all he knows is we're not having sex. He don't know. And the thing about, we went through this, and I'll tell you our story. And I'm not going to get into gory details, maybe a little. No, I told her I wouldn't. We went through this, and I don't remember, it was a long time ago. I think it was right after Justice was born. And all of her emotional childhood, just her, whatever happened with boyfriends, emotional dysfunction in her life came out after she had Justice. And women who've had kids, you just spin out there for, and what happened was, we didn't have sex. I know it was like, well, here's how I know it was bad.
No, don't say that.
It was bad. We had contraceptives that expired.
I wasn't keeping a calendar.
I was. When your contraception goes out of date,
There's an issue.
there's an issue. And
It's getting too real.
so what happened, but I'll tell you what happened. I felt like she didn't care. She was working on her issue, but didn't inform me that I just thought, this is just what she settled into, and this is the way it's always going to be. Had I known we were working through it, I would have liked to have worked through it together. But because of the lack of communication, I felt rejected. I felt like, I'll tell you what I felt like. I felt ripped off. Because I got married under one circumstance, and now I'm in a different one, and I felt like I got gypped. Like, what I bought when I got it home and unwrapped it wasn't what it was. And I think through that time of not communicating and really, and I don't even think we were in church or believers or whatever, but I'll tell you, as we went through that time, that's the closest we probably ever came. The closest I probably ever came to. I would lay there at night thinking, I'm just leaving. I'm out. This is not what I've signed on for. This is not what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. And thank God I stayed. We got his needs, her needs.
Yeah, that's where it started.
And we started having communication, and we started working through things, and we were able to.
I think the only thing that kept us together was that we made a commitment. Like I've said before, when we got married at 18 years old, for me, I was 18, made a commitment that I am and will not get a divorce. Marriage was not a contract on a piece of paper. It was a covenant for us, and so that's the only thing that we had to hang on to at that point. But thank God,
I want so bad, and I know we're out of time, but I want so bad to help you guys have the marriages you want. If you're here today and you're single, if you have a dream for a certain kind of marriage, the decisions you make while you're single are going to contribute to that marriage. I tell my daughters the same thing. The decisions you make while you're single will affect your marriage more probably than the decisions you make while you're in your marriage. If you're here today and you're married, God created sex. It is the most intimate way two people can be. Sex is the only thing that is in God's will only for married people. All of your other love needs, as you go through them, they can be met by friends, by relatives, by parents. They can be met in all of these ways. Sexual fulfillment is for marriage alone. That's how special it is. It's holy. It's set apart. And it is also, because it is so intimate, it's like an exposed nerve. It hurts the worst. It causes the most conflict and the most pain. It's the most used weapon to inflict the most pain. And it's the hardest thing to talk about publicly. It's the hardest thing to communicate. You guys ever talk to your kids about sex? That's awkward and hard, right? Well, it's because it's intimate. And so talking about it is tough, especially when you're talking about an issue you have with it. Now, you have to take care of yourself. Ladies, if you're dealing with physical issues, and that happens, you can't keep that to yourself. Your husband needs to know exactly what's going on. We don't know how you work. We didn't go to medical school. If you're having physical problems, you need to discuss that with your husband. You need to say, this is my physical problem, and you need to get help. You need to fix that. You need to go to a doctor. If you're having emotional issues, they will not go away. And here's the downside of that. You can't sex them away. You can't just do it. Because every time you do that, they don't go away, they get worse. And it'll build up and build up and build up, and it'll build up until there's such resentment that it's not just your husband feeling rejected, he's being rejected. And you turn whatever emotional issue you have into an issue that he's done to you, which he was innocent. I mean, he could be guilty. I mean, but a lot of that, I mean, that's a whole different thing, dealing with hurts that we do to each other in a marriage. The other side of that coin is, guys, your physical health matters. You need to be able to satisfy your wife. You need to be able to satisfy your wife sexually. All right? She's not going to ever enjoy sex if you don't know how to do it. Because every guy's like, I'm the greatest at it. Well, you're not. The thing is, things that contribute to that are your physical health. Okay? You need to be healthy. You need to get in shape. Okay? You can't be a big fat slob and be out of breath and be like, I mean, look, you need to be physically healthy. It affects problems. Blood pressure, diabetes, things like that affect you. Trust me. Heart attack. Listen, depression.
Thank you.
Depression will destroy your marriage, and I'm sure you figured it out.
Depression hurts.
Depression, physical health. After I had the heart attack last year, I went into depression. I've never had to deal with depression in my life, but dealing with depression, dealing with heart condition, dealing with blood pressure and diabetes issues have caused more issues, intimate issues in our marriage. And
you thought it was all my fault, and we've since realized it was his health. A lot of it was his health.
You got to take care of yourself. You need to eat right. You need to take care of yourself. You need to have good cardiovascular health, right? There's things that both of us in marriage, men and women, need to work on. There are problems that men have, physical problems. You need to go to a doctor. You are stealing, you are robbing, you are rejecting your wife if you refuse to go to the doctor because you got too much pride. It's not fair to her. our lives are not our own. In marriage, when you realize that, that's what true love is, that my life, Paul writes about this, and it gets used out of context, but he's like, her body was given to me in marriage, and my body was given to her in marriage. We own each other's body. I tell her that all the time. I own you. We own each other's bodies, and we're to love and care for and to satisfy each other's needs. And so you have to take care of yourself. In doing that, you need to communicate. Guys, it's hard to say, look, I'm dealing with depression. What depression does, it steals your passion. And passion is the thing that makes you romantic. It makes you want to do the things like the dishes or flowers or make the bed or clean the room or do things to be romantic to your wife, to turn her on. And so those things have to be dealt with. But she has to know, look, I'm dealing with this depression, and this is what it's causing. It's causing me to be mean and angry and hateful and not want to be social and not want to go out or do anything or, all of these things and so she's not feeling rejected, and she needs to be able to communicate, this song pisses me off. That's what she said. She needs to be able to communicate that.
People think that's not a bad word anymore, but it still is for me.
She cussed at me. The thing is, guys, you have to open up your communication. I want you guys to have good sex. I want your marriages to be fruitful. I want you to thrive. I want you to be happy. I want you to enter into a place where marriage is more than it's better than you ever thought it could be. And that's not out of reach. It's completely obtainable, okay? Now, my mom's in a nursery, and so we're quitting because she's gonna get me for going this long, but I think it's too important to not share reality with you. Is it helpful? Does that help you guys? I mean, you got to understand, hopefully I was able to say some things your husband wants to say to you. Hopefully Celia was able to say some things to your husband that you wanted to say to him. And now hopefully you can leave here and go home and at least start having communication about what's going on. One of the best communication things is to just to start with is saying, how much is enough sex for you? I mean, that's a good place to start your conversation. When you go home this week and you need to do your homework. You need to go home and talk about sex and have a conversation about it. But you need to find out what is enough. Because it's good to know what our expectations are and things like that.
I think another practical step for guys is at night to pray together. When you're in bed, pray together. I don't know what it is about praying, but woo, it's pretty cool. It's nice to pray together. I like that.
Woo! All right, let me pray for you guys, and not that way. God, I thank you so much.
Love is not for me. Till the night I met that girl named Tennessee.